The notification alert came at 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. Antonio Delacroix grabbed his phone, expecting another false alarm from his restaurant's new security system. Instead, he watched his brother Vincent reach into the cash register, count out several bills, and slip them into his pocket before deleting transactions from the computer screen. In that moment, Antonio realized the person he trusted most had been robbing him blind for over a year. What started as brotherly help managing a successful Italian restaurant had become the largest family theft case in Portland's restaurant district that year. By the time investigators finished analyzing security footage and financial records, Vincent Delacroix had stolen $94,847 through a cash skimming operation so sophisticated that it fooled accountants, bank auditors, and his own family for 19 months. I'm your family wealth detective, and this case haunts me because it shows how quickly family trust becomes a weapon against you. In my analysis of over 300 family financial crimes, the Delacroix case stands out for one chilling reason. Vincent didn't just steal money from his brother's business. He studied Antonio's habits, manipulated his emotions, and turned every act of brotherly kindness into an opportunity for theft. Law enforcement classified Vincent's crimes under three serious charges: employee theft under Oregon Revised Statute 164.215, computer fraud involving systematic point-of-sale manipulation, and family financial abuse due to his exploitation of kinship trust. This legal combination carries enhanced penalties in Oregon, where courts recognize that family financial crimes cause psychological damage that extends far beyond monetary losses. Detective Maria Gonzalez of the Portland Police Bureau's Financial Crimes Unit called this investigation a masterclass in how trusted family members can weaponize access and affection. Court documents reveal Vincent escalated from stealing $50 per night to over $800 during busy weekends, all while maintaining the perfect brother facade at family dinners and holiday gatherings. Here's what makes this case absolutely critical for anyone with family members in their business. Antonio had every protection measure except the ones that mattered. He had insurance, security systems, and accounting software. But he didn't have the three specific safeguards that could have caught Vincent's theft within days instead of years. The security cameras that finally exposed Vincent captured over 400 individual theft incidents, providing prosecutors with video evidence so clear that Vincent's defense attorney advised an immediate guilty plea. But those same cameras could have been configured to prevent the theft entirely if Antonio had known what to look for. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how Vincent executed this elaborate scheme, the psychological manipulation tactics he used to maintain his brother's trust while robbing him, and most importantly, the three protection strategies that would have stopped this theft before it reached even $1,000, let alone nearly $95,000. If you have family members handling money in your business, or if you're considering bringing relatives into financial roles, you need to watch every minute of this analysis. The protection strategies I'll reveal have prevented similar thefts in dozens of other family businesses, and they could save you from the devastating betrayal Antonio experienced. Drop a comment telling me if you've ever suspected a family member of financial misconduct, and subscribe because the warning signs I'm about to reveal might already be happening in your business. To understand how Vincent Delacroix managed to steal nearly $95,000 from his own brother, you need to know the family history that made this betrayal possible. The Delacroix restaurant legacy began in 1952 when Antonio and Vincent's grandfather, Giuseppe Delacroix, opened a small pizzeria in Brooklyn's Bensonhurst neighborhood. Giuseppe built his business on a simple principle: family members handle the money because blood runs thicker than greed. This philosophy worked for Giuseppe, who employed his sons and nephews in various roles throughout the 1960s and 70s. When Antonio's father, Michael, took over operations in 1981, he expanded the business into a successful 3-location chain while maintaining the family-only financial management structure. Michael trusted his relatives with cash handling, bank deposits, and inventory management without question. The system worked because family members feared disappointing each other more than they feared legal consequences. Antonio grew up watching this trust-based model generate prosperity for 3 generations. When he moved to Portland in 2015 to start his own restaurant, he carried these family values with him. Bella Vista Italian Kitchen opened in 2018 with Antonio handling every aspect of operations personally. He worked 16-hour days, managed suppliers, created menus, supervised kitchen staff, and personally counted every dollar that came through the register. By 2020, the restaurant's success was killing Antonio slowly. Bella Vista grossed $2.3 million annually, but Antonio had gained 30 pounds from stress eating, developed chronic insomnia, and watched his marriage strain under the pressure of his obsessive work schedule. His wife Gabriella begged him to hire management help, but Antonio struggled to trust outsiders with his family's financial future. When Vincent approached Antonio in early 2021 about joining the business, it seemed like divine intervention. Vincent had spent nearly a decade working in Portland's restaurant scene, climbing from server to shift supervisor at several establishments. He understood point-of-sale systems, knew how to manage staff schedules, and most importantly, he was family. Antonio saw hiring Vincent as the solution to his overwhelming workload and the continuation of the Delacroix tradition of family business management. What Antonio didn't know was that Vincent's decade in the restaurant industry had coincided with a gambling addiction that started innocently enough. Vincent began placing small sports bets in 2019, enjoying the excitement of having action on games he watched anyway. During the 2020 pandemic lockdowns, with restaurants closed and Vincent collecting unemployment benefits, his betting escalated dramatically. Online gambling platforms made it easy to place bets 24 hours a day on sports leagues around the world. By the time Vincent joined Bella Vista in March 2021, he owed approximately $47,000 to various creditors. His credit cards were maxed out, his car was 3 months behind on payments, and his landlord had served him with a 30-day eviction notice. Vincent had borrowed money from friends, taken cash advances, and even pawned family heirlooms to feed his gambling habit. His addiction had progressed to the point where he was betting on games he had never heard of, just to experience the chemical rush of potential winnings. Court records reveal that Vincent's gambling losses averaged $3,200 per month during 2021, far exceeding his restaurant wages. Forensic psychologist Dr. Catherine Mills, who evaluated Vincent during his criminal proceedings, identified classic patterns of addiction-driven financial desperation. Vincent exhibited what Dr. Mills termed trusted person exploitation syndrome, the psychological condition where gambling addicts rationalize stealing from family members by promising themselves they'll repay the money after their next big win. Antonio's decision to promote Vincent to assistant general manager in summer 2021 created the perfect conditions for systematic theft. Vincent gained access to the point-of-sale system, daily cash reconciliation duties, and bank deposit responsibilities. More critically, Antonio relaxed his personal oversight of financial operations, trusting Vincent to handle details that Antonio had previously managed himself. The psychological dynamics between the brothers made detection nearly impossible. Antonio viewed Vincent's competent handling of managerial duties as confirmation of his good judgment in hiring family. When Vincent worked late nights reconciling cash and preparing deposits, Antonio saw dedication rather than manipulation. When Vincent volunteered for extra shifts during busy periods, Antonio interpreted this as family loyalty rather than increased theft opportunities. Vincent exploited Antonio's cognitive biases systematically. He knew Antonio wanted to believe the best about family members, so Vincent maintained perfect behavior during family gatherings and holiday celebrations. He complimented Antonio's cooking, praised the restaurant's success, and even suggested menu improvements that increased profitability. This positive reinforcement made it psychologically difficult for Antonio to suspect Vincent of theft when financial discrepancies began appearing. The warning signs that Antonio ignored would have been obvious to an outside observer. Vincent's lifestyle improved dramatically after joining the restaurant, despite his modest salary. He moved to a more expensive apartment, bought new clothes, and always seemed to have cash available for entertainment. When family members commented on Vincent's apparent financial improvement, he attributed it to finally working somewhere that appreciates my skills. More telling were Vincent's behavioral changes around money discussions. He became defensive when Antonio mentioned profit margin concerns, dismissing them as normal industry fluctuations. When Antonio's accountant questioned inventory discrepancies during quarterly reviews, Vincent provided plausible explanations about seasonal customer preferences and food waste variations. Vincent had studied Antonio's business operations carefully enough to offer credible justifications for the financial irregularities his theft was creating. The most dangerous aspect of Vincent's exploitation was how he weaponized Antonio's trust against him. Every time Antonio expressed confidence in Vincent's abilities, every family dinner where Antonio praised Vincent's work ethic, every moment of brotherly affection became validation that Vincent's theft was justified. In his mind, Vincent wasn't stealing from Antonio. He was borrowing money that would eventually be repaid through his gambling winnings. This rationalization pattern is common in family financial crimes. Perpetrators convince themselves that family relationships create different moral standards for property ownership. Vincent told himself that the restaurant's success meant Antonio wouldn't miss small amounts of cash, and that his own contributions to the business entitled him to compensation beyond his official salary. But here's what Antonio didn't know about Vincent's double life during those crucial months in late 2021. Vincent's gambling losses had reached catastrophic levels by July 2021. Bank records seized during the investigation show he was placing bets totaling $8,000 to $12,000 per week across multiple online platforms. His method was chasing losses, doubling down on increasingly risky bets to recover previous defeats. When he lost $3,400 on a Thursday night basketball game, he would bet $6,800 on Friday's baseball games to win back the original loss plus profit. This addiction-driven escalation created what forensic psychologist Dr. Mills identified as desperation criminality, the psychological state where addicts commit increasingly serious crimes because their financial situation has become so desperate that normal consequences lose their deterrent effect. Vincent knew stealing from Antonio was wrong, but the immediate terror of bankruptcy and homelessness outweighed his long-term family relationships. The progression of Vincent's rationalization reveals how trusted person exploitation develops over time. Initially, Vincent told himself he would only take enough money to cover his rent and basic expenses until his luck turned around. He promised himself strict limits, never more than $100 per week, only during busy nights when the theft wouldn't be noticed, and always with the intention of repaying every dollar. Within 3 months, those self-imposed limits had evaporated. Vincent's gambling losses were accelerating faster than his theft could cover them. He began stealing not just to pay living expenses, but to fund increasingly large bets that he believed would solve all his financial problems in one massive payout. The $50 he stole in July became $200 in August, $400 in September, and over $600 per shift by October 2021. Court-ordered psychological evaluation revealed that Vincent experienced what addiction specialists call cognitive compartmentalization, the ability to maintain normal family relationships while engaging in behavior that directly harms family members. Vincent could eat Sunday dinner with Antonio and Gabriella, discussing restaurant improvements and family plans, while simultaneously planning his next theft from their business. This compartmentalization was enabled by Vincent's sophisticated understanding of Antonio's personality and business operations. Vincent knew Antonio reviewed financial reports only weekly, focusing primarily on overall profitability rather than daily cash reconciliation details. Vincent understood that Antonio trusted family members completely, making him unlikely to verify Vincent's work or implement oversight protocols. Most dangerously, Vincent exploited Antonio's emotional vulnerabilities. When Antonio expressed gratitude for Vincent's help managing the restaurant, Vincent felt justified in his theft because he was providing genuine value through his managerial work. When Antonio worried about profit margins or rising costs, Vincent offered reassurance and explanations that made Antonio feel better, while concealing the true source of financial losses. The warning signs that Antonio systematically ignored became more obvious throughout late 2021. Vincent's work schedule preferences changed. He volunteered for shifts with higher cash volume and actively discouraged other employees from handling registered duties. He became territorial about financial record keeping, insisting that his organizational system was more efficient and that other people's involvement would create confusion. Vincent also began displaying classic deflection behaviors when questioned about financial discrepancies. He would redirect conversations toward other business issues, praise Antonio's cooking or management skills to change the subject, or provide technical explanations that sounded authoritative but contained just enough complexity to discourage further questioning. The relationship dynamics between Antonio and Vincent created additional barriers to detection. Antonio felt proud of Vincent's apparent professional growth and success working at the restaurant. When other family members commented positively on Vincent's improved financial situation, Antonio took personal credit for providing Vincent with a good job and growth opportunities. Vincent encouraged this pride by regularly complimenting Antonio's business acumen and expressing gratitude for the opportunity to work at Bella Vista. He would make statements like, "I've learned so much working with you, and this job has really turned my life around." Statements that were technically true but concealed the criminal method of his financial improvement. By December 2021, Vincent's theft had become so routine that he barely felt anxiety while stealing. He had developed specific techniques for different situations, backup explanations for various scenarios, and sophisticated methods for manipulating both the point-of-sale system and inventory records to cover his tracks. The security footage revealed something that would shock even experienced investigators: Vincent's complete comfort and casual demeanor while committing theft. Unlike nervous first-time criminals, Vincent displayed the confident movements of someone who had perfected his techniques through months of practice and refinement. Vincent Delacroix's cash skimming operation represented one of the most sophisticated point-of-sale manipulation schemes Portland's Financial Crimes Unit had encountered in a family business setting. Over 19 months, from July 2021 through February 2023, Vincent employed multiple theft methodologies that evolved in complexity as his confidence grew and his gambling losses accelerated. The foundation of Vincent's operation was his intimate knowledge of Bella Vista's technology systems and daily operational patterns. As assistant general manager, Vincent had administrative access to the restaurant's Toast POS system, which processed all customer transactions and maintained detailed sales records. This cloud-based system was designed to prevent employee theft through automatic reporting and audit trails, but Vincent discovered several vulnerabilities that could be exploited by someone with legitimate administrative privileges. Vincent's primary theft method involved what forensic accountants classify as transaction manipulation, the practice of altering completed sales after customer payment to reduce recorded revenue while maintaining customer satisfaction. When customers paid cash for their meals, Vincent would complete the transaction normally, provide correct change and receipts, then return to the POS system after the customers left to modify the recorded sale amount. For example, if a table of 4 customers paid $127 cash for their dinner, Vincent would process the payment correctly during service, then later access the system to delete $35 worth of items from their order. The POS system would show a sale of $92 instead of $127, while Vincent pocketed the $35 difference. This method was particularly effective because customers received proper service and correct change, making them unlikely to notice discrepancies. Computer fraud charges under Oregon law specifically address unauthorized access to computer systems with intent to commit theft. Vincent's administrative access to the POS system was legitimate, but his use of that access to alter completed transactions constituted computer fraud because he was manipulating the system beyond his authorized scope of employment. Legal precedent in Oregon establishes that employees who exceed their authorized computer access for personal financial gain can be prosecuted under both theft and computer fraud statutes simultaneously. Vincent's second methodology involved what investigators termed ghost transactions, processing customer payments without creating any record in the POS system. During busy dinner periods when the restaurant served 200, 300 customers per night, Vincent would occasionally handle entire table transactions manually. He would take cash payments, provide handwritten receipts that appeared legitimate, then pocket the entire payment amount without entering anything into the computerized system. This technique required careful coordination with kitchen staff and servers. Vincent would verbally communicate orders to the kitchen, ensuring food was prepared and delivered properly, but avoid creating any digital record of the transaction. The kitchen staff, focused on cooking during busy periods, rarely questioned Vincent's verbal instructions, especially since he was management and appeared to be handling legitimate customer service issues. Employee theft under Oregon Revised Statute 164.215 defines the crime as knowingly taking or appropriating property of an employer by an employee during the course of employment. Vincent's ghost transaction method clearly met this definition, as he was appropriating restaurant revenue during his regular work duties. The systematic nature of his theft elevated the charges to aggravated theft in the first degree, which carries enhanced penalties for thefts exceeding $10,000. Vincent's third technique involved inventory manipulation fraud, adjusting food cost records to conceal the discrepancies his theft was creating between actual sales and recorded revenue. When Vincent stole cash from customer payments, the restaurant's inventory system showed more food being consumed than revenue being generated. To address this imbalance, Vincent would artificially inflate waste reports, claim higher food costs for certain ingredients, or report fictional inventory losses due to spoilage or preparation errors. This inventory fraud required Vincent to access multiple computer systems beyond the POS terminal. He manipulated the restaurant's inventory management software, altered vendor invoice records, and even created false documentation of food waste disposal. The complexity of these manipulations demonstrated premeditation and sophisticated criminal planning that prosecutors used to argue for enhanced sentencing. The timeline of Vincent's theft shows clear escalation patterns that mirror his gambling addiction progression. Court documents reveal specific theft amounts for each month of the operation. July-September 2021, average $847 per month stolen. October-December 2021, average $1,653 per month stolen. January-March 2022, average $2,341 per month stolen. April-June 2022, average $3,789 per month stolen. July-September 20, average $4,892 per month stolen. October-December 2022, average $6,234 per month stolen. January-February 2023, average $7,456 per month stolen. This escalation occurred for two reasons: Vincent's increasing desperation as his gambling losses mounted, and his growing confidence that his theft methods were undetectable. By late 2022, Vincent was stealing nearly every shift he worked, sometimes taking over $800 in a single evening during busy weekend service. Vincent's most audacious thefts occurred during holiday periods when the restaurant processed exceptional cash volume. Court records show he stole $1,247 on the Saturday before Thanksgiving 2022, $1,089 on New Year's Eve 2022, and $1,156 on Valentine's Day 2023. These amounts represented nearly 15% of the restaurant's total cash revenue for those individual days. The sophistication of Vincent's operation extended to his cash handling procedures. Rather than simply pocketing bills randomly, Vincent developed systematic methods for extracting money without creating obvious shortages. He would break large bills into smaller denominations during legitimate transactions, making it easier to remove currency without affecting the register's ability to make change for subsequent customers. Vincent also timed his thefts strategically around the restaurant's daily operations. He would steal primarily during the dinner rush, when multiple servers were handling transactions simultaneously, making it difficult for anyone to track individual sales. He avoided theft during slower periods when each transaction received more attention, and he never stole during shifts when Antonio was personally overseeing cash operations. The security camera evidence that ultimately exposed Vincent's crimes provided unprecedented documentation of systematic employee theft. 8 high-definition cameras captured different angles of the restaurant's point-of-sale area, creating multiple simultaneous records of Vincent's criminal activity. Investigators compiled over 400 individual instances of theft, each supported by video evidence showing Vincent's specific actions and corresponding POS system manipulations. The camera footage revealed Vincent's complete comfort with his criminal routine. Video evidence shows him engaging in normal conversation with staff and customers while simultaneously stealing cash and manipulating computer records. His casual demeanor and efficient movements demonstrated that theft had become as routine as any other job duty. When Antonio finally watched the recordings, what he saw made him physically ill. The footage showed Vincent stealing money while Antonio worked in the kitchen just feet away, completely unaware of his brother's betrayal. Some videos captured Vincent counting stolen cash in the restaurant's office while Antonio was visible through the doorway, focused on food preparation. Forensic analysis of the security footage also revealed the precise methods Vincent used to avoid detection. He would wait until Antonio was engaged in kitchen tasks that required sustained attention, ensuring his brother wouldn't observe the theft. He would position his body to block other employees' view of the cash register during transactions. Most importantly, he maintained normal facial expressions and body language throughout the theft process, making his criminal behavior nearly invisible to casual observation. The compilation of evidence took investigators 3 months to complete. Each instance of theft required cross-referencing video footage with POS system records, customer receipt data, and inventory reports. The systematic nature of Vincent's crimes meant that every transaction had to be verified individually, creating a massive documentation project that ultimately produced over 2,400 pages of evidence. This evidence compilation process demonstrated the importance of proper record keeping in family businesses. Because Bella Vista maintained detailed digital records through multiple systems, investigators could track Vincent's theft with precision despite the extended time frame. Restaurants with less sophisticated record keeping might never have recovered sufficient evidence for successful prosecution. The legal classification of Vincent's crimes as both employee theft and computer fraud was significant for prosecution strategy. Employee theft charges carried potential sentences of up to 5 years in prison for amounts exceeding $1,000, while computer fraud charges added an additional 3 years for unauthorized system manipulation. The combination allowed prosecutors to seek enhanced penalties while providing backup charges if one category proved difficult to prove in court. The Portland Police Bureau's Financial Crimes Unit received Antonio Delacroix's complaint on March 15, 2023, 3 days after he discovered the security footage evidence of his brother's theft. Detective Maria Gonzalez, a 15-year veteran specializing in white-collar family crimes, was assigned as lead investigator. Her initial assessment classified the case as aggravated employee theft with potential computer fraud enhancements due to the systematic POS manipulation evidence. Detective Gonzalez's investigation strategy focused on 3 critical evidence categories: digital forensic analysis of the restaurant's computer systems, comprehensive review of financial records spanning the 19-month theft period, and systematic analysis of security camera footage to document individual theft instances. This multi-pronged approach was necessary to build prosecution-quality evidence for crimes that had occurred over such an extended time frame. The digital forensic examination was conducted by the Oregon State Police Computer Crimes Unit, which specializes in POS system analysis and electronic evidence recovery. Forensic technicians created complete copies of Bella Vista's Toast POS system database, inventory management software, and all associated transaction records. This process required temporary closure of the restaurant's electronic systems for 18 hours, while investigators preserved evidence integrity. Computer forensic analysis revealed that Vincent had accessed the POS system outside normal business hours on 47 separate occasions, using his administrative credentials to modify completed transactions after customers had left the restaurant. These after-hours access instances provided crucial evidence of premeditation and systematic criminal planning, as opposed to opportunistic theft during busy service periods. The forensic accounting phase was handled by certified fraud examiner Patricia Wong, who specializes in restaurant industry financial crimes. Wong's analysis required reconstructing 19 months of financial records to identify discrepancies between reported sales, actual inventory usage, and documented cash deposits. This process involved examining over 15,000 individual transactions and cross-referencing them with corresponding video evidence. Wong's forensic accounting report identified $94,847 in provable theft, though she estimated actual losses could have been as high as $110,000 due to cash transactions that left no digital records. The report detailed Vincent's escalating theft patterns and provided timeline analysis that correlated his increasing criminal activity with his gambling addiction progression. Chain of custody procedures for the security camera evidence required specialized handling due to the massive volume of footage involved. Investigators preserved 847 hours of video recordings across 8 camera angles, creating a digital evidence library that required 2.3 terabytes of storage space. Each video segment had to be authenticated, time-stamped, and correlated with corresponding transaction records to maintain legal admissibility. The evidence compilation process revealed the sophistication of Vincent's criminal operation. Investigators documented 412 individual theft instances, each supported by multiple forms of evidence, including video footage, POS system records, and financial documentation. The systematic nature of the evidence made prosecution straightforward, as prosecutors could demonstrate clear patterns of intentional criminal behavior over an extended period. Vincent was arrested on April 8, 2023, at his apartment in Portland's Southeast District. He initially denied all allegations, claiming the video evidence was being misinterpreted and that any financial discrepancies were due to accounting errors or system malfunctions. However, when presented with specific examples of his theft during interrogation, including video footage of him pocketing cash while deleting POS transactions, Vincent's denials became increasingly implausible. The formal charges filed by the Multnomah County District Attorney's Office included aggravated theft in the first degree under ORS 164.057, computer crime under ORS 164.377, and fraudulent use of a credit card under ORS 165.055 for his manipulation of the restaurant's payment processing systems. The combination of charges carried potential sentences totaling 12 years in prison and fines up to $375,000. Aggravated theft in the first degree applies when the theft amount exceeds $10,000 and involves breach of trust by an employee. Vincent's theft of $94,847 clearly met the financial threshold, while his position as assistant general manager and family member established the trust relationship that enhanced his criminal culpability. This charge alone carried sentences of up to 8 years in prison under Oregon sentencing guidelines. Computer crime charges were added because Vincent exceeded his authorized access to the restaurant's POS system by using legitimate credentials for unauthorized purposes. Legal precedent in Oregon establishes that employees who misuse computer access for personal financial gain commit computer crimes regardless of their legitimate access rights. The systematic nature of Vincent's POS manipulation supported enhanced penalties under the computer crime statute. Vincent's defense attorney, Michael Chang, initially pursued a strategy of minimizing the theft amounts and arguing that Vincent's gambling addiction constituted a mental health issue that should reduce his criminal culpability. Chang requested psychiatric evaluation and suggested that Vincent's actions were driven by addiction rather than criminal intent, making him a candidate for rehabilitation rather than punishment. The prosecution, led by Assistant District Attorney Jennifer Martinez, rejected any suggestion that addiction excused Vincent's systematic criminal behavior. Martinez argued that Vincent's sophisticated theft methods, extended time frame of criminal activity, and deliberate deception of his family demonstrated clear criminal intent that went far beyond impulsive addiction-driven behavior. Due process requirements in family financial crime cases include special consideration of the relationships between perpetrator and victim. Courts must balance the criminal nature of the offenses against the family's wishes regarding prosecution and punishment. Antonio Delacroix testified that while he wanted Vincent held accountable legally, he also hoped for eventual family reconciliation and Vincent's rehabilitation from gambling addiction. The plea negotiation process extended over 4 months as prosecutors weighed the strength of their evidence against the costs of extended litigation. Vincent's attorney argued for reduced charges based on his client's cooperation, lack of prior criminal history, and willingness to undergo gambling addiction treatment. However, the systematic nature of the theft and substantial financial losses made prosecutors reluctant to accept significant charge reductions. Vincent ultimately accepted a plea agreement on August 22, 2023, pleading guilty to aggravated theft in the first degree and computer crime charges in exchange for dismissal of the fraudulent credit card charges. The plea agreement included admission of responsibility for stealing $94,847 over 19 months and acknowledgement that his actions constituted deliberate criminal behavior rather than impulsive mistakes. Sentencing occurred on October 15, 2023, with Judge Patricia Rodriguez presiding. Vincent received 18 months in Oregon State Prison, followed by 3 years of supervised probation. The sentence fell within standard guidelines for first-time offenders committing major financial crimes, balancing punishment with rehabilitation opportunities. Restitution orders required Vincent to repay the full $94,847 to Bella Vista Italian Kitchen, though collection prospects were limited by Vincent's financial insolvency. Court records showed Vincent had no significant assets, minimal employment income, and substantial debts to multiple creditors. The restitution order would remain in effect indefinitely, but actual recovery would depend on Vincent's future earning capacity. The legal precedent established by this case reinforced Oregon's approach to family business employee theft. The substantial sentence, despite the family relationship, demonstrated that courts would not reduce penalties based solely on familial connections when crimes involve sophisticated planning and substantial financial losses. Recovery of the stolen funds remains unlikely despite the restitution order. Vincent served 14 months of his prison sentence before being released to probation in December 2024. His current employment as a restaurant dishwasher generates insufficient income to make meaningful restitution payments, leaving Antonio with a legal judgment that may never be satisfied. The courtroom revelation that changed everything for this family came during Vincent's sentencing hearing, when he finally acknowledged the full extent of his betrayal. In a prepared statement, Vincent admitted that his gambling addiction had driven him to view his family's trust as an opportunity rather than a responsibility, and that he had justified his theft by believing he would eventually repay the money through gambling winnings. 3 critical protection strategies every family business must implement. The Delacroix case provides crucial lessons for protecting family businesses from internal theft, particularly when hiring relatives for financial roles. Based on my analysis of over 300 family financial crime cases, the following 3 strategies would have prevented Vincent's theft or detected it within days, rather than allowing 19 months of systematic embezzlement. Strategy 1: Dual Control Cash Management Protocol. The most effective protection against cash skimming is implementing dual control procedures that require 2 people to verify all cash transactions exceeding predetermined thresholds. In Vincent's case, requiring a second person to verify cash transactions over $100 would have made his theft impossible, as most of his individual thefts involved amounts between $150 to $400 per incident. Dual control procedures must include 2-person verification of cash payments, with both employees initialing receipts for transactions over the threshold amount. Daily cash reconciliation should be performed by an employee who did not handle cash during that shift, creating separation of duties that prevents single-person manipulation of financial records. Weekly surprise cash counts should be conducted by ownership, comparing actual cash on hand with POS system reports and identifying discrepancies immediately. The key to successful dual control implementation is treating it as a business system rather than a trust issue. Family members often resist oversight procedures, viewing them as signs of distrust rather than professional business practices. Frame dual control as protection for employees against false accusations and protection for the business against external theft, making compliance a condition of employment for all staff, regardless of family relationships. Modern POS systems offer sophisticated monitoring capabilities that can alert ownership to unusual transaction patterns, but these features must be properly configured and actively monitored. Cloud-based systems like Toast allow owners to receive mobile alerts when specific events occur, such as unusual refund activity, transaction modifications after completion, or cash transactions exceeding predetermined amounts. Security cameras must be integrated with POS systems to provide real-time monitoring capabilities. Modern camera systems offer motion detection alerts, smartphone streaming, and automated recording of register activity. Configure cameras to send alerts when register drawers are opened outside normal transaction patterns, when employees access POS systems after hours, or when cash handling occurs during non-business hours. Inventory management systems should generate automatic variance reports comparing food costs with reported sales. Set these systems to alert ownership when food usage exceeds reported revenue by predetermined percentages, indicating potential cash skimming or inventory theft. Weekly variance reports should trigger immediate investigation of discrepancies rather than assuming they represent normal business fluctuations. The critical element is active monitoring rather than passive recording. Many businesses install sophisticated systems but fail to configure alerts or review reports regularly. Assign specific personnel to monitor alerts daily and investigate anomalies immediately, treating unusual patterns as potential theft rather than system errors. Strategy 3. Family Employee Legal Framework. Family businesses must treat relatives with the same legal and procedural standards applied to non-family employees, including written employment agreements, background checks, and bonding insurance for cash handling positions. Vincent's theft was enabled by informal employment arrangements that lacked proper documentation and oversight requirements. Written employment agreements for family members should include specific job duties, financial handling limitations, and consequences for policy violations. Include clauses requiring cooperation with internal investigations, submission to periodic audits, and acknowledgement that family relationships do not exempt employees from standard business procedures or legal consequences for policy violations. Bonding insurance, also called fidelity insurance, provides financial protection against employee theft while creating additional oversight requirements. Insurance companies require background checks, regular audits, and specific cash handling procedures as conditions of coverage. These requirements create external accountability that family members cannot manipulate through emotional appeals or relationship pressure. Regular financial audits by external accounting firms provide independent verification of business financial records and can detect sophisticated theft schemes that internal oversight might miss. Schedule quarterly audits that include cash handling procedures, inventory reconciliation, and POS system analysis. External auditors have no family relationships to compromise their objectivity and bring specialized expertise in detecting financial crimes. Cash handling oversight protocols. Implement daily procedures that verify cash handling accuracy and detect theft quickly. Require cash handlers to count register contents at shift start and end, with both amounts documented and verified by management. Maintain detailed logs of all cash transactions, including customer receipts, refund documentation, and deposit preparation records. Establish clear policies for cash transaction limits, requiring management approval for transactions exceeding specified amounts. Create procedures for handling unusual situations like large cash payments, customer disputes, or register malfunctions that might provide theft opportunities. Document all exceptions and review them regularly for patterns that might indicate systematic abuse. Technology solutions for real-time monitoring. Invest in integrated POS and security systems that provide comprehensive transaction monitoring. Modern systems can track individual employee performance, identify unusual transaction patterns, and generate alerts for suspicious activity. Configure systems to require manager approval for transaction modifications, refunds, or deletions that could facilitate theft. Use cloud-based systems that allow ownership to monitor business operations remotely through smartphone apps and web interfaces. Real-time access to sales data, cash reconciliation reports, and security camera feeds allows owners to maintain oversight even when not physically present at the business location. Family employee management, best practices. Establish clear boundaries between family relationships and business operations. Family members working in the business should understand that employment performance and policy compliance are separate from family dynamics. Poor job performance or policy violations must have business consequences regardless of family relationships. Create transparent communication channels for reporting concerns about family employee behavior without fear of relationship damage. Establish procedures for addressing conflicts between family members that might affect business operations or create opportunities for financial abuse. Legal safeguards and documentation requirements. Maintain comprehensive documentation of all business policies, employee training, and compliance monitoring. Proper documentation protects the business legally and provides evidence for prosecution if theft occurs. Include specific policies regarding family employee treatment, cash handling procedures, and investigation protocols. Consult with legal counsel to ensure employment policies comply with state and federal regulations while providing maximum protection against internal theft. Regular legal review of policies and procedures ensures continued compliance and effectiveness as business operations evolve. The Delacroix case demonstrates that family relationships create unique vulnerabilities that require systematic protection measures. Trust alone is insufficient protection against financial crime, particularly when addiction or financial desperation compromise family members' judgment and ethical behavior. If you're recognizing warning signs from your own business experience, hit the like button to help me reach more family business owners who need this education. Share this case analysis with anyone who employs family members in financial roles. These protection strategies could prevent devastating financial losses and family relationship damage. Subscribe for more family wealth protection cases, and tell me in the comments, which prevention strategy will you implement first in your business? Your commitment to proper oversight could save your family from the betrayal and financial devastation that destroyed the Delacroix brothers' relationship forever.